Commander Sarah Chen stood at the helm of the EDS Resilient, watching the massive holographic display as the first Dominion warships emerged from hyperspace at the edge of the Kuiper Belt. Their crystalline ships glowed with an eerie blue light, beautiful and terrifying in equal measure. Intelligence suggested each vessel carried enough firepower to level a continent. "Status report," she ordered, her voice steady despite the weight of humanity's fate resting on the next few moments. 15 Dominion capital ships detected, Commander. Lieutenant Rodriguez reported from his station. Energy signatures matched the patterns we observed at Neptune Station before it went dark. Sarah's jaw tightened. Neptune Station's destruction had been humanity's first taste of Dominion diplomacy, a demonstration of power that had killed 3,000 colonists. The aliens believed it would force Earth's immediate surrender. Instead, it had united humanity like never before. "Their flagship is broadcasting, Commander," Communications Officer Park announced. "They're demanding our immediate surrender." "Again." "Put them through," Sarah said, straightening her uniform. "Let's see if they've learned anything about humans in the past month." The holographic display shifted, revealing Supreme Commander Vexthor of the Dominion Fleet. His crystalline exoskeleton caught the light of distant stars, creating rainbow patterns that might have been beautiful if not for the contempt in his four eyes. "Commander Chen," he said, his translator converting his clicks and whistles into crisp English. "Your species' continued resistance is illogical. We have analyzed your military capabilities extensively. You cannot win." Sarah allowed herself a small smile. "You know, Supreme Commander, that's the problem with your species. You're so focused on analyzing capabilities that you forget to consider possibilities. Your primitive fusion drives cannot match our quantum propulsion. Your railguns cannot penetrate our shields. Your artificial intelligence is centuries behind our quantum computers." Vexthor listed off, each point delivered with the certainty of someone reading established facts. What possibilities could possibly exist beyond these fundamental truths? "The possibility that we've spent the last month letting you analyze exactly what we wanted you to see," Sarah replied. She nodded to Rodriguez. "Now." Across the solar system, hundreds of ships dropped their stealth fields. Not the massive carriers or dreadnoughts the Dominion had been tracking, but smaller, faster vessels that had been waiting in the shadow of asteroids and planetoids. Ships that had been modified with technology reverse-engineered from the wreckage of the single Dominion scout ship humanity had managed to disable. "Impossible," Vexthor whispered, his crystalline form literally losing color as his tactical display updated. "Our sensors detected no." "Your sensors detected what they were programmed to detect," Sarah interrupted. "The problem is, you programmed them based on what you thought you knew about human technology. Did you really think we'd show you everything in our first encounters?" The smaller human ships were already moving, their formation seemingly chaotic, but following a carefully orchestrated plan. The Dominion fleet's perfect geometric formation suddenly seemed rigid, inflexible. "You're still outgunned," Vexthor said, but there was a new note in his voice: uncertainty. "Maybe," Sarah agreed. "But you're about to learn something important about humans, Supreme Commander. We don't fight wars because we think we can win. We fight wars because we refuse to lose." She cut the transmission with a gesture. "All ships, execute Operation Pandora. Let's show the Dominion why you should never corner a species that turned their own planet into a survival game and won." The battle that followed would be studied in military academies across the galaxy for centuries to come. The Dominion's superior technology and perfect formations meant nothing against an enemy that turned asteroids into weapons, used their own ships as bait, and employed tactics that no rational military commander would consider. By the time the dust settled, 3 Dominion capital ships had been destroyed, 4 more crippled, and the rest had retreated in disarray. The cost to the human fleet had been heavy, but they had achieved something unprecedented. They had bloodied the nose of the supposedly invincible Dominion. As Sarah looked at the debris field that had once been part of the Dominion fleet, she knew this was just the beginning. The real war would start now. But humanity had sent its message. Underestimate us at your peril. Send word to Earth, she ordered. Tell them Operation Pandora was a success, and tell them to implement Phase 2. The Dominion wanted to see humanity's true capabilities. She smiled grimly. Let's give them a proper demonstration. 3 weeks after humanity's first victory against the Dominion, the Sol system had become a deadly maze of traps, ambushes, and psychological warfare. Sarah Chen watched from the bridge of the EDS Resilient as another Dominion patrol fell victim to humanity's increasingly creative defensive strategy. Mining drones are in position, Lieutenant Rodriguez reported, tracking the holographic markers representing the automated units. They've taken the bait. The Dominion patrol, consisting of 3 of their sleek crystalline destroyers, moved precisely according to their tactical protocols. That was the beauty of it. Their adherence to logic made them predictable. Status of Operation GhostNet? Sarah asked, watching the trap unfold. The quantum field disruptors are charged and ready, her chief engineer, Dr. Yuki Tanaka, replied from her station. Though I still think it's insane to use experimental technology in actual combat. Sarah smiled. That's exactly why it works, Yuki. The Dominion can't defend against what they don't believe is possible. The human mining drones, retrofitted with stolen Dominion tech, had been leaving trails of quantum particles, breadcrumbs that the Dominion's advanced sensors couldn't resist investigating. Their arrogance made them believe they could easily handle any primitive human mining equipment. The lead Dominion vessel fired a warning shot at one of the drones, their standard procedure before capture. That was their final mistake. Execute, Sarah ordered. The quantum field disruptors activated simultaneously, creating a cascade effect that the Dominion had deemed theoretically impossible. Their own quantum drives, the source of their superior maneuverability, became their undoing. The crystalline ships shuddered as their quantum fields collapsed, leaving them dead in space. Target ships disabled. Rodriguez confirmed. Their emergency systems are offline. Launch boarding teams, Sarah commanded. Priority is their navigation databases. We need to know what they know about our space. As the boarding shuttles deployed, Sarah received an urgent communication from Earth Command. Admiral Chen's hologram appeared, her mother's stern face showing signs of both pride and concern. Operation GhostNet is confirmed successful, Commander, the Admiral said. But we've detected something concerning. The Dominion is adapting faster than expected. They're beginning to implement randomness algorithms in their tactical decisions. Sarah felt a chill. They're learning to think like us. Precisely. But that's also their weakness. They're trying to quantify chaos, to find patterns in randomness. They still don't understand that human unpredictability isn't a strategy. It's who we are. The Admiral's hologram flickered as she transmitted new tactical data. We've confirmed they're gathering for a major offensive. Their entire Third Fleet is mobilizing. Over 200 capital ships. Sarah studied the data, her mind already racing with possibilities. They think they've figured us out. That they can beat us at our own game. Exactly. Which is why Earth Command has approved your proposal for Operation Pandemonium. The Admiral's expression softened slightly. It's risky, Sarah. If it fails, we'll think of something else. Sarah interrupted. That's what humans do. The Admiral nodded. Very well. You have authorization to proceed. The civilian ships are already in position. Remember, you'll have one shot at this. After the transmission ended, Sarah turned to her crew. They had all heard the exchange, and she could see the mix of anticipation and nervousness on their faces. The Dominion thinks they've learned to predict us, she announced. They believe that by studying our tactics, they can outmaneuver us. But they're about to learn that humans don't just embrace chaos. We thrive in it. She brought up the tactical display, showing the positions of hundreds of civilian ships scattered throughout the outer system. Ships that the Dominion had dismissed as refugees or merchants, too insignificant to worry about. Begin Phase 1 of Operation Pandemonium, she ordered. Let's show them what happens when you force humanity to get creative. As the civilian ships began their carefully orchestrated dance of seeming randomness, Sarah knew the coming battle would either be humanity's greatest triumph or their last stand. Either way, the Dominion was about to learn another harsh lesson about underestimating human ingenuity. Because while the Dominion had been studying human military tactics, they had forgotten one crucial detail. Every human, civilian or soldier, carried within them the potential for brilliant, devastating innovation. And now, those civilians were about to become humanity's secret weapon. The Dominion Third Fleet arrived exactly as predicted, their 200 capital ships emerging from hyperspace in a formation so perfect it almost seemed like art. Almost. Sarah Chen stood on the bridge of the EDS Resilient, now hidden within the rings of Saturn, watching the massive holographic display as Operation Pandemonium unfolded. Thousands of civilian ships, each retrofitted with experimental technology, moved in seemingly random patterns throughout the solar system. "They're taking the bait," Lieutenant Rodriguez reported, his voice tense with anticipation. "Dominion fleet is splitting up to chase down civilian vessels." Dr. Tanaka's hands flew across her engineering console. "The quantum signature maskers are holding. They still can't distinguish our civilian ships from actual refugees." Sarah nodded, watching as the mighty Dominion fleet dispersed, trying to corral what they perceived as panicked human civilians fleeing the coming battle. Their tactical computers would be working overtime, trying to predict the random flight patterns, attempting to optimize their pursuit vectors. "Coming up on Phase 2, Sarah announced. "Status of the gravity wells. All mining stations report ready," Rodriguez replied, "just waiting for enough of their ships to cross the threshold." The plan was audacious, borderline insane, exactly why Sarah believed it would work. The Dominion's quantum drives were incredibly powerful, but also incredibly precise. They required exact calculations to function, calculations that assumed normal spacetime conditions. 60% of enemy fleet now within the target zone, Rodriguez counted down. 70%. 80. "Execute Phase 2, Sarah ordered. Across the solar system, hundreds of mining stations activated modified gravity generators simultaneously. The devices weren't powerful enough to affect large areas of space, but they didn't need to be. They just needed to create thousands of tiny gravitational anomalies, invisible to sensors, but devastating to quantum navigation systems. The effect was immediate and catastrophic. Dominion ships suddenly found their quantum drives fighting against conflicting gravitational forces. Some managed to shut down in time. Others weren't so lucky. Multiple Dominion vessels experiencing critical drive failures, Rodriguez reported, trying to keep the excitement from his voice. "Their formation is completely broken." But Sarah knew better than to celebrate too early. Status of their flagship. Still holding position at the edge of the system with their reserve force, approximately 50 ships still under their direct command. The Dominion's Supreme Commander had learned some caution since their last encounter. Unfortunately for them, that caution was about to become another weakness. "All civilian ships, execute Phase 3, Sarah commanded. The seemingly random movements of the civilian fleet suddenly coalesced into purpose. Each ship activated its final surprise. Quantum field generators reverse-engineered from captured Dominion technology. Not powerful enough to drive a ship, but perfect for creating a massive web of quantum interference. "Quantum web is forming," Dr. Tanaka confirmed. "Field strength at 60% and climbing." On the tactical display, Sarah watched as the civilian ships created a massive invisible net of quantum energy, trapping the scattered Dominion fleet in dozens of isolated pockets. Their superior technology, their perfect formations, their advanced tactical computers, all rendered useless by simple physics and human ingenuity. "Message from the Dominion flagship," communications reported. "Supreme Commander Vexthor is demanding to speak with you." "Put him through," Sarah said, straightening her uniform. The hologram materialized, showing Vexthor's crystalline form practically vibrating with rage. "What have you done?" he demanded. "We've done exactly what humans always do when backed into a corner. Sarah replied calmly. "We changed the rules of the game." "This is impossible," Vexthor insisted. "Your technology level, your civilian ships shouldn't be capable of this. That's your problem. Supreme Commander, you keep thinking about what should be possible, while we focus on making the impossible happen." Sarah allowed herself a small smile. "Now shall we discuss terms?" Terms. Vexthor's translator couldn't quite capture the mix of confusion and outrage in his voice. "Yes, terms. Because right now, your fleet is scattered and vulnerable. Meanwhile, every human military vessel in the system is intact and combat-ready." Sarah's expression hardened. "We can either end this now, or we can show you exactly how creative humans can get when we stop playing nice." As she waited for Vexthor's response, Sarah reflected on how far they'd come. The Dominion had arrived expecting to find a primitive species ready for conquest. Instead, they had found humanity. Adaptable, unpredictable, and absolutely unwilling to submit. The next few moments would determine whether the Dominion had learned enough to save themselves from their own hubris. Supreme Commander Vexthor's response came not in words, but in action. The remaining 50 ships of his reserve fleet surged forward, desperation overriding caution. "All ships, battle stations," Sarah ordered, watching the Dominion's last gambit unfold. "They're doing exactly what we hoped they would." The EDS Resilient emerged from Saturn's rings, along with 30 other human warships that had been hiding in similar positions throughout the system. But they weren't alone. Behind them came something that made even the desperate Dominion fleet pause. 3 massive ships unlike anything they'd seen before. Project Phoenix vessels reporting ready, Rodriguez announced, barely containing his excitement. The ships were humanity's masterstroke. Hybrid vessels combining human engineering with salvaged Dominion technology. They looked like abstract art pieces, crystalline sections seamlessly merged with human steel and carbon composites. Beautiful, terrifying, and completely impossible according to Dominion engineering principles. "They're scanning our ships," Dr. Tanaka reported. "Their quantum sensors are going crazy trying to make sense of the hybrid signatures." "Launch Phoenix drones," Sarah commanded. From the hybrid vessels poured thousands of small craft, each one a fusion of human AI and Dominion quantum technology. They moved in ways that defied conventional physics, their paths impossible to predict, because they operated on principles the Dominion had never considered. Human intuition married to quantum mechanics. "Impossible." Vexthor's voice came through the comm system. "You cannot have mastered our technology so quickly. Our scientists spent centuries." "That's the difference between us, Supreme Commander," Sarah interrupted. "You spend centuries perfecting a technology. We spend months figuring out how to use it in ways its creators never imagined." The Phoenix drones demonstrated this philosophy perfectly. Rather than trying to match the Dominion's perfect quantum calculations, they embraced uncertainty. They utilized the quantum field's inherent randomness, turning unpredictability into a weapon. Multiple Dominion ships reporting critical systems failure, Rodriguez called out. "Their defensive algorithms can't adapt to the drone's attack patterns." "Because they're not patterns," Dr. Tanaka added with a grim smile. "The drones are literally using quantum uncertainty as a tactical advantage. The Dominion's computers are trying to predict the unpredictable." The battle quickly turned into a rout. The Dominion's remaining ships, faced with an enemy that had not only adapted their technology, but transformed it into something they couldn't comprehend, began to retreat. "Sir," communications interrupted. "We're picking up transmissions from the disabled Dominion vessels. They're requesting asylum." Sarah raised an eyebrow. "Asylum?" "Yes, sir. They're saying they want to learn. They want to understand how we think." A slow smile spread across Sarah's face. This was something no one had anticipated. The possibility that by demonstrating humanity's capabilities, they might not just defeat the Dominion, but change it. "Accept their requests," she ordered, "and prepare a message for Earth Command. Tell them Operation Phoenix was successful, but with an unexpected development." Also, she paused, considering her next words carefully. Recommend we begin preparations for a counter-invasion. A counter-invasion? Rodriguez asked, surprised. Not the kind they launched against us, Sarah clarified. We're not going to conquer the Dominion. We're going to show them a better way. Because that's another thing humans do. We don't just defeat our enemies. Sometimes we transform them into allies. As the hybrid ships began collecting their damaged and surrendered prizes, Sarah turned her attention to the tactical display showing Dominion space. Their territory was vast, their resources immense, and their technology still formidable. But they had never faced an enemy like humanity, an enemy that could take their greatest strengths and transform them into something entirely new. The war wasn't over, but its nature had fundamentally changed. The Dominion had arrived as conquerors, certain in their superiority. They would leave either as allies or as a cautionary tale about the danger of underestimating humanity's capacity for innovation and adaptation. And somewhere in their vast empire, the news was already spreading. The humans weren't just fighting back. They were winning. And they were doing it in ways that defied every principle of warfare the Dominion had ever known. 6 months after the failed invasion of Sol, Sarah Chen stood in a place she never expected to be. The crystalline halls of the Dominion High Council on their homeworld, Axis Prime. The massive chamber sparkled with refracted light, its geometric architecture a perfect representation of the Dominion's ordered worldview, or at least what that worldview had been. The humans have done more than defeat us. High Counselor Zixtal addressed the assembled Dominion leadership, his crystalline form shifting through colors that indicated deep emotional turmoil. They have fundamentally changed us. Sarah watched as holographic displays showed the transformation spreading through Dominion space. Hybrid ships, similar to the Phoenix vessels, now patrolled jointly with traditional Dominion cruisers. Research facilities were being restructured, with human scientists working alongside Dominion engineers to explore new possibilities that neither species had considered alone. In just 6 months, Zixtal continued, human influence has led to more technological advancement than we achieved in the previous century. Not because their base technology is superior, it isn't, but because they think. He paused, searching for the right words. They think in ways we never imagined possible. Supreme Commander Vexthor, now serving as the liaison between human and Dominion forces, stepped forward. His once rigid crystalline form had developed subtle variations, a physical manifestation of his evolved thinking. When we first encountered humanity, we saw them as primitive, Vexthor admitted. Their technology was inferior, their methods chaotic, their decisions often illogical. We thought this made them weak. He turned to face Sarah. We were wrong in ways we couldn't even comprehend. Sarah nodded, remembering the battles that had led to this moment. You saw chaos where we saw possibility. You saw weakness where we saw flexibility. You saw primitives where you should have seen innovators. And now, one of the council members asked, what do you see in us? I see potential, Sarah replied. Your species has something we've always struggled with. The ability to maintain perfect order, to achieve incredible precision, to build systems that can last millennia, combined with human adaptability and creativity. She smiled. The possibilities are endless. The chamber erupted in discussions, the Dominion's traditionally ordered debate dissolving into something more organic, more dynamic. Sarah watched as former enemies engaged in passionate exchanges about future possibilities, their rigid thinking patterns giving way to more fluid, human-like approaches. There are still those who resist, Vexthor said quietly to Sarah, who believe we should maintain our traditional ways. Of course, Sarah replied. Change is never easy. Humans still struggle with it too. But that's exactly why our species need each other. You help us find order in our chaos, while we help you find the benefits of controlled disorder. The meeting concluded with a historic declaration, the formation of the Human Dominion Alliance. Not a surrender, not a conquest, but a genuine partnership born from mutual respect and understanding. As Sarah prepared to return to her ship, she received one final message from her mother, Admiral Chen. "The Dominion High Council has approved our proposal," the Admiral's hologram announced. "They're going to help us establish first contact protocols with other spacefaring races. Apparently, we're not the only chaotic species out there." Sarah laughed. "Let me guess, the Dominion's been avoiding them too." "Precisely. But now they see the value in diversity, in different ways of thinking." The Admiral's expression softened with pride. "You did well, Sarah. You showed them humanity's strength without destroying their culture in the process." As Sarah looked out at the crystalline spires of the Dominion capital, she reflected on how far both species had come. The Dominion had arrived at Earth expecting to find simple conquests, but instead discovered partners who could help them evolve beyond their self-imposed limitations, and humanity had gained allies who could help them channel their chaos into lasting achievements. "You know what the best part is," Sarah said to her mother's hologram. "This is just the beginning. There's a whole galaxy out there, full of species who think differently, who see the universe in ways we can't imagine. And now we can explore it together." The war that had begun with an attempt at conquest had ended with something far more valuable: understanding. The day the Galactic Empire had realized humanity's true strength wasn't just about military might or technological innovation. It was about the power to adapt, to change, and to help others do the same. And somewhere out in the vast expanse of space, other civilizations were about to learn the same lesson. Never underestimate a species that turns limitations into advantages, chaos into opportunity, and enemies into allies.